Welcome to Ask the Funeral Director with Mike Voyajakis. Brought to you by Voyage Funeral Home and Crematorium. Now, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Funeral Director on this Wednesday, September the 11th, 2024. Great to have everybody on board. I know a lot of you are just coming online with us. We've got lots to get to tonight. We're going to talk about a 21-year-old goalie or a 23-year-old goalie that, died suddenly, something we're not supposed to talk about. But he died in a tournament. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll show you who Zach Barassa is. We've also got a great video on, something that's happening around the world and something that's happening here in Canada. So we'll get to a bunch of great stories tonight, not only a little bit of the news after the big debate last night. We'll probably chat about that. We've got a special presentation tonight, too, something that I mentioned last week that we were going to be doing this week. As well, Mike is here, so he's coming up right after this message from our sponsors. At the Cork and Flame, we're always cooking and ready with the finest for all our customers any time of day or night. From breakfast brunch to lunch and dinner, steak and seafood to ribs and more. The Cork and Flame Fine Dining. Always fresh, with fabulous desserts and a narration of the urban landscape, plus a passion for quality food. Eat, drink, chill. Cork and Flame, 3106 Portage Avenue. There's no hurry, so sit back and relax. Welcome back. Well, Mike, great to have you back with us tonight. Looks like,
Hey, Brad, wait a sec.
What? What's the matter?
Do you have something in your ear?
No.
Kamala Harris has something. Wait,
no,
take that out of your ear.
I got nothing in my ear.
Did you see that? He's got some. Someone's telling Brad what to say.
No, not me. Not today.
Live on national TV, and you got that thing in your ear, and you just got caught.
Do you think anybody knew last night about the pearl earring?
A pearl earring. Aren't those earrings expensive?
People are saying that's a conspiracy theory. Well, I don't know. I saw a product called Nova.
Nova, yeah.
Nova headphones or earpieces. $16,000. Probably made by Tiffany's.
Yours look a little cheaper than that tonight.
Yeah, mine are the $9.99 special. And that's why you can probably see them, unlike Kamala's.
Oh, man.
If she was even wearing one. I'm not going to say she was.
You look at these debates, right, and you think, how are they going to cheat this time? And, of course, they did. And, yeah, I know, conspiracy theorists, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't cheating. It was just an earring that looked like an earring. Going to say hi to some people. Debbie, good evening from Tabor,
Alberta. Tabor.
Terry,
I used to live in Tabor
Mike, Brad.
a long time ago.
Did you?
I did.
Hello from Southern Alberta. Wow, two from Alberta right off the top.
Absolutely.
They win the grand prize.
They've been active. The Southern Albertans have been active because why? Well, the Coots boys got themselves convicted.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's sad. It's a sad day in Canada when that happens.
I'm curious how much time my brother's murderer is going to get because these guys got 6 years.
Yeah, that's right.
6 years for what?
Well, for uttering threats, there were some guns and some homemade devices in there too. They're saying so. I wasn't there. I don't know. I didn't really follow the story that much either.
That makes two of us. Yep.
Wake Up Canada News had to take a step back from that one and didn't want to get involved. I don't have a lawyer, not a good enough one to help me get out of any mess that I probably could have got into.
So Sue says, "Hello, Mike and Brad." Randolph.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mike and Brad. Fernie, good evening, Mike and Brad from Washington State.
Great to have you on board, Fernie. Hello from Ontario. Laurie Dobbin is here as well. Lots of USA football players are dying suddenly, Randolph says. Did you know about that? Hockey players, football players.
Hockey players, football players. What was the player's name who got thrown to the ground by the police and handcuffed and then played in the NFL, National Football League game, and scored a touchdown, and then he put his hands around his back, and his player escorted him off the field. How's that for throwing it in the police's face? Absolutely. Hi, Mike and Brad. Sherry says, and everyone else who's watching.
Randy from Toulon, Mike and Brad and everyone. Fall is near. Yes, the leaves are starting to change
Chuck
color.
says, Hello from crime capital of Canada.
Kamloops.
Kamloops.
I didn't know Kamloops was like
I
the
thought we
crime
were the
capital.
crime capital.
I thought we were the murder capital of Canada.
Oh, yeah, maybe we're the murder capital and they're the crime capital. I'd rather be the crime capital than the murder capital. Linda, good evening, Mike and Brad and all.
And yes, Chuck, I did, and you did too. I know about your call as well, so we'll talk about that some other day.
Al Bueller. Good evening, everyone. Mike Voyjakis and Brad Wilder. Hey, how'd you get a last name like Wilder?
Well, my mom and dad.
You must have had fun with that when you were young. Hey, Wilder.
I did. Go get him, Wilder.
Christina Barnes. Good evening. All had a terrific lunch at CNF last week, Thursday. Yummers.
Debbie Lamoureux says, what? No, we can't read that on the air. Keep going.
Kim, hi, y'all. Barb Green. Hi, Mike, Brad, and everyone watching. Gord. Hello, Gordon, Brad. Mike and Brad.
Yeah. Dan Ross. Good to see you, Dan.
I always have to say this from Ross, Manitoba, of course.
Just going to ask you if you had earrings on. LOL. Just listening about them on Shadow. Shadow who? Waterton Park. Glad to have you on board, JJ.
Hey, Dan. Dr. Dan's on. Hi, Mike. Looking good. Hey, Dan. When are you going to come back on the show, Dr. Dan, and give us a perspective of not a doctor's point of view, but Dan's point of view. A dad's point of view. A husband's point of view. We'd love to have you back. So, maybe give us an answer and see if he'll come back. And I'm sure people will love you seeing the Daniel that we know. Hey, hang on. We got a problem.
What's the problem?
All across the world, there's this new thing coming out, and it's called monkeypox. So Brad and I thought, we don't want to get infected, we don't want to get sick, so we thought we would vaccinate each other tonight.
I'm ready.
We wouldn't get. So you know what? I highly advise you go get a banana and pass me that, Brad. There we go. Just need a banana. Are we gonna have one to eat too?
Yeah, I think we should.
We got a banana. I asked Brad if he wanted to share one. He said that was
not that kind of show.
Not that. And anyways, I'm gonna.
No, you don't need that yet. You got to do the syringe part. We're going into the banana. We're pulling.
The
vaccine out of the banana.
Hang on, we gotta do this here. There we go. I love bananas.
Bananas are great.
Okay, hang on.
Good potassium.
Now I gotta get the syringe. I'm gonna get the syringe here. So just watch what we're doing. Don't
try this at home or follow along.
Don't try this at home.
You can follow
along if you have a banana and if you have a syringe. Dr. Dan, he should have been here to vaccinate us. Never thought I'd get vaccinated, but this banana's good.
I never thought I'd be eating banana in front of people.
Me neither. Okay, so we put this in, right? And then we pull back on it. Is that what we do?
Yeah, you're going to pull back?
Okay, hang on. Oh, yeah, I'm getting all the fluids in there.
Okay, good.
There we go. Okay.
Fill that up. Okay, you got that stuff in there?
Okay, aren't you supposed to do like a... There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to vaccinate you first.
No, normally there'd be a needle on the end of that, but the problem with this monkeypox stuff is it's just like if I was in the part of the government, I don't necessarily need to really have a needle in it.
Oh, wow.
It's special.
What? Okay, here we go. I'm going to get up and do this. Yep.
Wait a minute. Sit back down a minute. Wait a minute. We can't do this.
Why not?
Well, because there's a new way. Look, let me put the banana down and I'll show you.
Okay.
I found this out earlier today, and I thought we were going to have to inject ourselves, but we're not. So
what do I do with all this fluid?
Well, this is the new patch. It's the monkeypox patch. Okay. So all you have to do is get yourself a monkeypox patch, and you just put it on your hand.
Hey, I'm supposed to put it on your hand.
Oh, you put it on mine, and I put it on yours. Here we go. Give me your hand there. There we go. All right, there we go.
I now pronounce you vaccinated.
Thank you. Totally. Is this safe and effective?
This is safe and effective if you...
Oh, it's already falling off.
Geez.
Oh, my gosh.
It's safe and effective if you get vaccinated. If you're going to get the patch, you're not going to get anyone sick. You can go visit your mom and dad. You can go visit your neighbors. You can go to work because this is effective.
You'll be able to see your loved one.
Be able to see your loved one.
At Voyage Funeral Homes.
Yeah, no one's going to die alone. No one's going to die alone this time around. So go to your local store. Get your favorite monkey banana,
Chiquita banana.
And then peel the peel off and get yourself vaccinated. And monkeypox, we're going to fight it this time around. And get your patches and we'll all be okay. That was good. Got to put the banana away now because we'll be talking with our mouths full. Well, good job, Brad. I feel good now.
I feel healthy.
You know what? I feel healthy, and my heart feels good. And unlike the other vaccination that took place. This week, we're going to show you that picture first. Why don't we go to a video before we got to let these set in.
Yeah.
It takes time. I'm feeling a little dizzy.
Yeah, I can give you side effects, maybe.
Yeah, the side effect of this is like crazy. We're going to go to our first video.
Let's do that.
You feeling better? Feeling okay?
I think so.
Yeah, we're safe now. Don't worry.
Not one study in the scientific medical literature that demonstrates that any illness in animals or children is transmittable from one person or one animal to another. And there's at least 200 that I know of that show that it doesn't work like that. Including the Rossino study in the Spanish flu, and Daniel Reuters wrote a book called Can You Catch a Cold? 200 studies investigating the transmission of colds and flu, all of which were negative. So if you think that's the case, then you're going to have to send me a study showing that that's how it works. And after 4 years, nobody has. So that's the first thing I would say to a virologist, is we have no evidence that disease is even transmissible. So why are we studying this? Now, there is no example in the scientific medical literature of any virus being separated, isolated from any tissue or fluid of any sick person in order to be characterized. And again, if anybody disagrees, they can send me the study to show I'm wrong. I know 100% sure I'm not. And in fact, we have over 200 institutions who, when asked, can you show me a study that shows that they did that? They said no such study exists. There is not one study in the science.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
You finish that up. Oh, what are you sneezing on me for?
Well, I mean, the guy said that viruses don't exist.
Well,
Hey,
they do.
You look smarter now.
No, viruses don't exist. No, you're right.
That
They
white
don't.
jacket makes you look really
Well,
smart.
well, thank you. It's my white lab coat.
I remember.
Full
I-
size. I'll model
Hey.
this off here.
Let me introduce you to Dr.
Dr. Nobody.
Dr. Nobody. Dr. Nobody there. So they say that there's no proof that viruses exist. I remember going on, my mom and dad would say, Mike, put a jacket on. You're going to catch a cold. Mike, don't do this. You're going to catch a cold. All this time they were lying to us. Viruses don't exist. There's no proof that viruses exist.
That's correct. They've never actually separated.
You're going to look, I mean, Dr. Dan should be sitting where you're sitting, but you look really good in that way.
Well,
Doesn't
thank
he
you.
look like a doctor?
I feel smarter. I feel smarter.
Do you feel smarter?
I do. A little bit smarter. I'm not going to say I'm super smart or nothing. Not as smart as Dr. Dan, I tell you that right now. He is a smart individual. He's
Yeah.
got a really high IQ.
Wow.
Okay, so that video's still going off there in the background, but we'll get out of that for a minute. Let's go back over here.
So I think we should, who do we have on next year?
What do you mean by next?
What next video? What video's next?
Well, that's a great question. I'm still trying to figure some of that out. You're moving so fast tonight.
Lenny
It's almost
says,
like you're excited.
Dr.
to be
Brad,
here.
well, I'm excited. I think this gave me energy.
We can watch another doctor, or we can talk about
Let's
the
talk
goalie
about
guy.
this. So let's talk about the goalie. This is just so you can see it on the screen now. This is 23-year-old Zach. Zach had a heart attack on the ice while he was playing in a tournament game.
Yep.
So if you don't believe us yet, maybe this will help you. Another 21-year-old
Died suddenly.
died suddenly, and it's not because of the vaccine we just took.
No.
Nope.
Has
This
nothing to
is
do with that.
positive. But the other vaccine seems to be doing a lot of this myocarditis stuff and
Correct.
turbo cancers and all kinds of stuff. And my deepest condolences out to this young guy's family for his loss. A prospect hockey player, and dies on the ice having cardiac arrest at only 23 years of age. So the family is in our prayers and in our thoughts, and it's terrible that this is happening.
Yeah,
it continues to be happening. And I saw somebody post a comment the other day on Facebook, something to do with vaccine related, and he got attacked. There must have been like 500 or 600 comments, and I started reading them, and they were just attacking this guy and telling him, "Wake up! This disease was real. People weren't dying. This saved people's lives." And it was like, wow.
Does somebody want to quickly check and make sure we're still on YouTube tonight? Just saying. I'm just saying. We were still on Facebook because we're monitoring that, but we could be gone on YouTube.
You know
have
what?
a funny
Somebody
feeling.
says I got the banana juice in here. So hang on.
There.
Consider
All right.
yourself vaccinated.
Totally safe now.
Safe. Monkeypox is not coming your way. That is a fact. We're going to go
Well,
into
unless you live in New Brunswick or Quebec or a couple other provinces that seem to be driving it down the citizens' throats.
I want to talk about the 911 system, the emergency system.
How
So,
quick that is?
Yeah,
It's really fast.
we had an emergency at the funeral home the other day. So I called 911. So after ringing numerous times, put me on hold saying an operator is not available. Can you imagine? In a city, Winnipeg, province of Manitoba, we're getting an answering machine when you phone 911, and they're wondering why people are dying, why ambulances are taking so long to get it, why firefighters aren't responding. They phone me back 3 minutes later, saying, "Did somebody call 911? Are you kidding me? The person's dead already." 3 minutes later, a guy's having cardiac arrest, and you can't even get through to 911. We need to work on our 911 system and the crimes that are going on in the city. We're going to talk more about that, but I was really disappointed. And I know you had an experience just last week.
We had to call an ambulance.
He had to call an ambulance for a medical emergency at his house. And he got, what did you get?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Yep.
Letty says,
they said 4 on the phone to us, but I don't know. I mean, it was such a panic that I can't really be accurate. My wife tried to be accurate with it, but again, it just all happened so quickly that it feels like a lifetime. It feels like a very long time.
Well, when you need an ambulance or when you need help, and you're calling 911 and you're going to an answering machine, meanwhile you got an emergency,
anything could be happening,
a medical emergency right there, or you're getting robbed or something bad's happening to you, and you can't get through to the police or the 911 system. And then when you get through, they ask you a million questions. And then they say, I'll transfer you over to the ambulance or the police. It's like, wow, look how long this took just to get there.
So
Brody Russell, how's it going?
That goalie's name was Zach Barassa, just so you
Zach
know.
Barassa. Poor guy, 23 years old.
Coming out of Quebec. Yeah.
Now we're going to play a video from Dr. Makis, and a lot of people know who he is. And we want you to hear this video. It's really important what he has to say.
All right, let's do it.
Are we good to go with that?
We sure are.
Tell you that made me.
Hi everyone, Dr. William Makis here, the most followed Canadian doctor on social media today. I have a message for all the mRNA vaccine vaccinators in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, actually throughout Canada. To all the COVID vaccine clinics, to all the pharmacies, to all the Walmart parking lots, the stadiums, the back alleys at Superstore, wherever COVID-19 vaccines were given and whoever gave them. I have a message for you. You may be wondering if one day you're going to be held accountable for injecting a toxic pharmaceutical product that you knew or should have known into people who were then injured or had died suddenly, for injecting it into children and pregnant women. You were just following orders. You just wanted a job. Maybe you're wondering if one day justice will come for you. In the meantime, though, I have probably the best piece of advice I can give you. Do not, under any circumstance, remove or destroy vials of COVID-19 vaccines as you may have been instructed by Health Canada or by your bosses. Save those vials of vaccines. These vials are worth their weight in gold. They will be worth an absolute fortune. There is right now an attempt to cover up and destroy evidence of a very serious crime. These vaccines are contaminated. There are going to be labs in the future that are going to want to test these vaccines, hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them, and they will pay top dollar. If you are ethically compromised, if you are greedy and you love money, then these vaccines are going to be your Bitcoin. They are going to be worth their weight in gold. Do not let Health Canada and the government destroy these vaccines. Save them, lie. If you have to, hide them, smuggle them out of the country, but save the vials of these COVID-19 vaccines. Do not let them get destroyed.
Are you gonna save your vial of COVID vaccine there, Mikey?
You know what? I'm going to save my vial of COVID vaccine, and like Dr. Makis said, it's going to be worth more than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Tells you there's a problem. You know, Dr. Makis is a very well-respected doctor,
Sure is.
and a doctor that stands for truth. And I reached out to him the other day and asked him to to come on the show.
Oh, did you?
So
Right
he
on.
hasn't responded yet. So hopefully he responds and we get Dr. Makis on Ask the Funeral Director, because it would be awesome to have another doctor and another funeral director going at it with each other. And
Oh, yeah.
while we're talking about this, just before we get any further, we want to tell you that that event that was booked for next Wednesday has been canceled. So the event that was supposed to take place
That was a
at the Law Courts building,
victim of crime.
victim of crime. That event has been canceled due to some circumstances with Brody and his family, and the police being involved and all kinds of stuff like that. So we had to cancel that event for now and maybe get back to it a little later on. I want to talk about the delay still before we get into this next story. So 100% delay. I can tell you that during my brother's death, that's still heartbreaking and haunts me every day. The ambulance took 25 minutes to get there. We have it all video recorded. It's all on tape from surveillance cameras at the restaurant. 25 minutes to attend to my brother, who was laying on a cold street waiting for help. And 911 failed us that day and is failing many other people. And there needs to be changes to the 911 system. You can't phone 911 and be put on hold. That's just wrong. And taxpayers should not put up with that. Period. It is 100% wrong. It shouldn't happen. When you phone 911, you should get an operator or talk to a person now. You're calling them for a reason, and you need help, and that's why you're calling. We're going to go to this next video, and this is...
Before we do that, let's take a look here. This kind of goes with what you've been talking about. Susu says, they want me to get a shingles shot now. I used to get the flu shot every year until 2 years ago. No more shots for me since 2022. So
Wow.
shingles shots are the new thing, right? Because that's the new breakout that's coming, that people are finding that they're really being affected of.
So Anne is right here. Oh, sorry. Anne says that we're being censored. Ask the Funeral Director is being censored a lot, and people can't share. And a lot of people tell me that they can't even get our messages that we're saying beforehand. Join us for Ask the Funeral Director tonight at 9. A lot of people don't even get those messages anymore.
Oh.
So do me a favor right now. Please like, share, and follow the show. The more we get it out, the more we help ourselves from being censored. So, yeah, we need help with that. 911 puts you on hold. Yes, that's right. They do put you on hold. We had a family who lost a loved one to a heart attack, and 911 put them on hold. That's after trying to get a hold of 911 for a minute, hanging up because they were in shock that 911 was getting an answering machine.
Yeah.
And then by the time the ambulance had got there, the person had a cardiac arrest and had passed away, and that's the reason they were at Voyage. So terrible. We need to work together to make this system better. It needs to be better. Your
correct.
families and yourselves count on it. When you call 911, you need emergency assistance now, whether it's a fire, a robbery, emergency, medical emergency, whatever the case may be. And you just going through it, it must have been devastating for you to go through that while you're having a medical emergency in your house and you're going, I need help.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you want to tend to what's going on in your house, but you're too busy being on the phone waiting for these guys. But if you do have a medical emergency, I want you to know, if you hang up on them, they will call you back.
Yes, they will.
They will call you back.
They will.
So we're going to go into this next video, and this is what's going on not only in Winnipeg, not only in Manitoba.
I want to make sure I say something correctly here, because
Yeah.
I think this is important.
Mhm.
We're not talking about the staff who run
Oh,
these
absolutely not.
operation centers. We're talking about the SOPs, that's standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
And it's the standard operating procedures that are going to, need some adjustment to
Yeah.
make things work a little
I mean,
more smoothly.
I have a lot of respect for the police officers, the firefighters,
Absolutely. The
the
911
doctors,
call
the nurses, the
operators.
911
Yeah,
operators.
absolutely.
It's a system that's broken, and we
That's right.
need to fix it. You just
there needs
cannot.
to be some streamlining.
Yeah, I don't know.
Streamlining.
I just don't understand when they know that something's broken, like the 911 system. Why don't they fix it?
Well,
Like, why don't they get more operators? Why don't they do what they need to do to get this emergency call in and get an ambulance, fire truck, police car there as
you
soon
don't
as
embalm
possible?
somebody halfway and say, that's it, that's as good as I'm going to do today. You go all the way, don't you?
If I was running the funeral home like the city is running some of the city of Winnipeg
Services?
services, I would go broke.
There you go. That's
That says it all.
true story.
This is something that's happening around the world, but Manitoba has been hit really hard. Watch this, and I'm sure that you're going to agree with this video when you see it.
All right, let's do it.
Growing calls tonight for more enforcement and harsher punishment for shoplifters as a number of 7-Eleven stores consider closing in our city. As CTV News first reported last night, Two city councilors say 7-Eleven officials told them 10 locations could be shuttered because of crime. The chain says it's losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Live tonight with the latest is CTV's Jeff Keel. So Jeff, how is the business community reacting to the prospect of these potential closures?
The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce says it's not surprised by these revelations. It says it's time to stop treating these crimes as if they are victimless. In the evening and overnight, this 7-Eleven on Salter and Flora locks its doors. Customers are served through this window.
So we've got to stand at the window for like at least, depends on how many people are standing there waiting.
Regular Samantha Bouchy says it's because shoplifting is rampant.
They come out with big armful of bags of chips or whatever else they can grab, and they just walk out and they don't stop them.
As CTV News first reported Tuesday, two Winnipeg City councillors say 7-Eleven officials told them in a meeting last week 10 stores could be on the chopping block because of financial losses due to theft and crime.
One store has experienced like $300,000 worth of theft. They just come in there, they take whole shelves.
The Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce says it has had discussions with 7-Eleven about the retail theft problem, and it's not surprised by the threat of 10 possible closures.
Businesses have been saying for a long time, we're having challenges.
The Chamber says when stores like 7-Eleven are forced to close, those neighborhoods decline. It says there needs to be more enforcement and tougher consequences for chronic thieves.
We need government to step up and saying, we're not going to treat this like a victimless crime. We're going to treat it like the meaningful challenge to our community's well-being that it is.
The province is rolling out new bail measures to better monitor offenders. On Wednesday, the Justice Minister announced the government will bring back ankle bracelets equipped with modern technology, and he's open to extending or expanding the retail theft initiative where police target hotspots.
All options are on the table, and again, we've seen the success. We're looking forward to more data coming from the WPS.
Samantha Bouchy doesn't want to see 7-Elevens close. She says in her neighborhood, they're often the only place to get the essentials.
Even like the basic, like toilet paper, if you need toilet paper, or if you need something from for your kitchen or whatever, and you need it from here, then we don't have it, right?
The councillors say the stores in question are mainly in the North End, but there's also one in River Heights and on Henderson Highway.
Jeff, what about police? Has the force spoken out about the potential 7-Eleven closures?
Yeah, the WPS released a statement today saying that it has been working with the retail community to address these complex issues and is committed to supporting retailers through various enforcement initiatives, educational campaigns, and community partnerships.
All right, thanks for this, Jeff.
Well, Mike, there you go. I'd hate to have Winnipeg lose its status of Slurpee capital of the world,
right?
but
Slurpee
I mean,
capital of the world.
7-Elevens go, and
but
that's
you need
what's
to
going to
know
happen.
something. It's not only 7-Elevens. Numerous giant tigers have closed down now too, because the theft is so bad, and these criminals
dollar stores are
dollar
going
stores
the same
are closing.
way.
I mean, people are walking into dollar stores and walking in with bags full of stuff, and they don't do anything about it. So we're losing.
It's
We're
kind of
losing
hard to.
Well, but we're losing a lot. I mean, let's get tough on crime. You know, I can tell you right now, enforcement officers, like this guy Rockhart, I believe his name is, from the city of Winnipeg, is busy harassing businesses, harassing me like you wouldn't believe. Another ticket today after they gave me the same one, maybe 4 months ago or 5 months ago. They nonstop harass businesses. They've been harassing me like it's out of style. Instead of having these enforcement officers out doing
real jobs,
they're out harassing businesses, and that's why so many businesses are leaving Winnipeg. They've had enough. It's almost impossible to run a business, and people that run businesses here know that it's tough to run a business in the city of Winnipeg because of all the red tape. If you want to work on your house, if you want to work on a commercial business and you want to put a business together, what a bunch of red tape do you got to go through. Meanwhile, they got these enforcement officers harassing businesses that work hard, that provide quality workmanship to the city of Winnipeg and add value.
This is what happens when the police force protects the politicians instead of those crossing the border. Now it's too late, Canada. Now it's too far too late.
Yeah, and you know, it sounds bad when we're talking so negative on the show, but that's reality of what's happening. The reality of what's happening is people are coming across these borders, and I saw a picture of a guy walking down the streets, clearly an immigrant to this country, walking down the street with a goose in his hand. I believe you posted it.
Yeah, I posted it, yeah.
He's walking, and he's going to go home and cook this goose. And he's walking down the street, and I know if you or I hit a goose on the street in our cars,
big trouble.
Man, there'd be people all over you trying to punch you out because
this guy's carrying one down the street, walking along like it's nothing.
So
Gotta
we need
take
to
it
get
home and
tough
cook
on
it.
crime. And
Same
you know
thing
what?
with Rataburgers.
Rataburgers. I saw a video the other day, and these
New
people
York,
were
right?
cooking in New York. They were cooking rats on a
Skewer.
souffle, on a skewer that you would normally cook, a pig or a sheep.
They're
or
having
something
shish
like that.
kebab. They're having shish
rats.
kebab on the corner with rats.
Wow. He got 4 geese, Heather says.
We got 4 geese.
That
Oh,
monkey
wow.
looks like a drunk Al Bueller and Steve Bage. Steve Bage and Al Bueller when they're
That
drinking
wasn't a
together.
comment from us, Al. We
Yeah.
love you. We love you like a brother, Al.
So, City of Winnipeg, maybe a note to yourselves. Instead of the 2050 plan, instead of attacking your local businesses that are trying to make a living and employ people. I can tell you that they're harassing the restaurant now, too, where we employ 27 people at the restaurant. And on top of that, the people we employ at the funeral home. So really uncalled for. It's disgusting. I've had enough of it, and we need to make change.
They're talking to me here. They're saying that it's a direct line to Patrick Allard.
Oh, Patrick Allard's
He
got a
says
direct
if
line.
Kamala gets elected, we're all going to be fighting over goose carcasses soon.
Yeah. I don't. In my opinion, I don't think Kamala doesn't have a chance in the world.
Did you know she's from Canada?
I thought she's from India.
No.
I don't know. They say she's Indian. They say she's black. They say she's
White.
from Canada.
Yeah,
she's white. I don't know what she is.
We're not sure either. I don't think Trump is.
And you
that
know
was
what?
one of the questions last night, actually. They couldn't figure it out
the
either.
one thing we want you to know is, for the people that are upset at us right now, maybe because of the monkeypox, maybe because we're talking about
I better
immigrants.
have another
Listen,
banana.
I'm all about immigration. My parents immigrated from Greece in 1963. There's a right way to do immigration and a wrong way of doing immigration. And Trudeau is doing it the wrong way, and Biden is doing it the wrong way, where thousands of these people are coming across the borders and making Canada their home and destroying the Canada we know. When you look at Canada now, it's not the Canada I grew up with.
You guys in the comments.
The comments are freaking amazing, and that's what makes this show.
Yeah, they're not even watching us.
And you know what? Even the Winnipeg Police Service, you can't blame the police officers. They're overworked. They're told what to do. They're just doing a job, and unfortunately, they need to focus. If I was running the city, things would be a lot different. Trust me.
Well, would you set up safe consumption sites?
I would not set up safe consumption sites.
Would you have more mental health availability?
Absolutely, 100%. We need
Would you
more
have
mental
some?
health.
Would you have some rehab and detox centers?
Absolutely.
Would you have bigger incarceration centers
Absolutely.
that we could actually house?
If you're
people
going to
for a
do
longer
the
period of
crime, you
time?
need to do the time. My
There you
friend.
go. See, I mean, this guy for mayor.
Bottom
line is
we
that.
need a lot of changes. And Carmela's mother's from Montreal, father from Haiti. Okay, I just made that up. I'm telling you, these comments just kill me. I guess we better get into some.
You better stop telling fibs on here. I tell you
So
what.
we had a good night tonight. Brad and I both got vaccinated from monkeypox, so we're good.
Yep.
We're going to be able to see our families this Christmas, and we're going to be able to hang out until the government tells us that the
wrong.
vaccination really didn't work.
They're never going to admit that, are
And,
they?
and,
they're
you know,
just
monkeypox-
going to cancel the vaccine and they're going to take
Look,
them.
we've even vaccinated the monkey here.
throw
So-
the vials away.
Order in the court. Monkeypox is now done for Mike and Brad.
Over.
Let's get on to Ask the Funeral Director. Start campaigning now, Mike.
Okay, Mike, what's the scoop with funeral homes running red lights? Is this a traffic violation? What, did we almost hit you, Bonnie?
Oh, not this. Now we're back onto the crime thing again. So I want you to know funeral homes have the right of way. So under the Highway Traffic Act, if you look, funeral driver, where do you do with that banana?
I'm going to move it.
You got to move this whole thing. I can't do the show with this monkey in front of me. Here, I'll get him to look at you. There you go. Under the Highway Traffic Act in Manitoba, funeral directors have the right of way. So when you see a funeral home coming into red lights, stop for that funeral home. A funeral home has to have beacons on, so you need to have purple beacons or purple lights in order to go through the red light. So usually you'll see a hearse, a limousine, and a lead car go through a red light, then a bunch of people following and behind it. So again, remember, it's not a traffic violation, Bonnie. Funeral directors have the right of way under the Highway Traffic Act. So please stop for funerals. Be respectful. It's that person's last ride, last chance to go all the way to the cemetery and do their final goodbye.
Well, that is true, Mike. Uh-oh. I just hit the wrong button there. Holy cow.
Brad's taking us off the screen here.
There we go. We're okay.
Jeez.
We're still on. We're good. Now, let's see here. I had to get rid of those top-notch props. I want you to know something. You didn't have props on your old show.
No, I know. Listen, the new show is way better than the old show by a long shot.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
If someone requests a direct burial with no embalming, a cheap casket, and no vault, is that considered unusual these days? Or
a lot of families come into the funeral home that believe in traditional burial and want to have traditional burial because they believe Jesus came on this earth and he wasn't cremated, he was buried. So a lot of people have that train of thought.
Right.
So what happens is you could come to the funeral home and just get a very basic casket and no embalming, and we could go directly from the funeral home to the cemetery and just have a graveside service. That's a way of saving money because you don't have to buy big expensive caskets, have funerals, have lunches afterwards, all that kind of stuff that you need to do. You could go directly from the funeral home to the cemetery, have your family there, have a pastor or family member just having a graveside service, and it is 100% legal, and more people are doing that these days. Even, Wendy, just the ghost? What's the ghost all about?
I don't know.
Is there a ghost behind us again?
What ghost?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Jewish belief is not to get embalmed and to be buried quickly. So I just want you to know, my family is Greek Orthodox, and in Greece, what they do is a person
just
dies.
in case you didn't know from his accent.
Just because you don't know from my accent, I talk to you like this. In Greece, when you die, they take you home, and then they bury you the next day. So the people come to the house, they have the visitation, they say the goodbyes, they have lunch, food, they go to the cemetery, it's all over. And then in 3 years, they take the body from the ground, and they reuse the grave again. There's my Greek accent. That's what happens in Greece.
In 3 years, they take the body out?
3 years, the body's taken out from the grave.
We're talking exhuming.
Yeah. And the
Where
family
do
does
they
that.
put it?
And then they put all the bones in a box and place the bones in a wall. And then they reuse that grave again.
Is the body fully deteriorated in 3 years?
But in Greece, it's different, right? The temperature there is much nicer. It's hot. You know, everything is warm. So everything decomposes a lot quicker. Here, we have cold weather.
30 years?
Cold weather, so it takes,
3 months a year, hot,
15 years. I mean, I've
Really,
seen,
eh?
so when we pull somebody out of the
Holy.
ground. But in Greece, in 3 years, and what a great idea. Then you get to use that grave for another person,
Yeah.
and it becomes a family plot. So I think it's a great idea, a great way to save space. I mean, in Manitoba, we have lots and lots of space. And, you know, when I drive to Buffalo Point sometimes, I look on the highway and you see fields that are endless. So for these guys who want to do these 2050 cities, why don't you go find some of those empty fields, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and build yourself a city and build it the way you want to build it. And for the people that want to come there, they can come there.
Go build your utopia somewhere else.
Go build it in, 2.5 hours from the city somewhere where there's a bunch of empty land.
Make sure you're the ones funding it as well, not us. Okay?
And then go live there.
Stop using our tax dollars.
Go live there, and we'll rebuild Winnipeg to make Winnipeg a beautiful, vibrant city.
That's correct.
There you go.
100%. Allison wants to know if a person has an autopsy, do they still need to be embalmed?
So when a person goes through an autopsy, the only way a family could see them afterwards is by that person being embalmed. You would never allow a family to see a person who was autopsied.
Too long being out of the cooler, right?
No, it's not that. I mean, it's a very invasive procedure, the autopsy. They take your cranial cap off, take your brain out, cut open your body and your cavity, take out all your organs, and that's what they do. And then everything's just placed back in there in a viscera bag, they call it. So if a person wants to be viewed after somebody goes through an autopsy, 100% has to be embalmed. If you want to have a funeral service with an open casket, a person has to be 100% embalmed. Or if you want to ship a person out of province after an autopsy, the person 100% has to be embalmed. So to answer your question, if it's a simple cremation, you could go directly from the hospital to the crematorium, have the cremation take place, and that answers your question.
Danielle says, my grandparents are buried one on top of the other within the same plot. Would the cemetery have dug the first grave deeper to have accommodated the second casket? Or do they just pack them in there?
No. Back in the days.
One gets a casket, they just open it up, throw the other one in.
The other one in there.
No,
2 for 1 burial. No. What happens is, back in the days, they would dig the grave a lot deeper, and then you would have double graves, which I thought was a great idea. Because then you can have, mom and dad on top of each other, and that's what they used to do back then. But now they don't do that anymore. They do side-by-side graves. So a little different, but yeah, it is something that was happening in the past. Some cemeteries still may be doing it. The cemeteries we've been to lately are not doing those double burials anymore. What do you keep playing with that for, Brad?
I'm just moving things around. It's okay. You're fine.
All right.
You are going to be dynamite. Don't worry about it.
Brad keeps touching things. Taco Joe says, evening, Rosie Stubb. Evening, Rosie. Yeah, let's get into the next question.
Next question number 5 tonight comes from Brenda. She says, odd question, but I'm curious. Do funeral homes in Manitoba associate with one another as far as working together? Do you work with anybody else in the funeral industry, Mike?
So, Brenda, that's a good question. So here's what we do at Voyage Funeral Home. Really important to know this. At Voyage Funeral Home, we mind our own business. We don't care what other funeral homes are doing, how they're doing it, when they're doing it. We worry about taking care of Voyage and the family members that we serve. And we do the best we can to serve the families that we serve. And we don't care what other funeral homes are doing. We don't gossip. We don't get into all the ins and outs of things. We don't know what's going on in funeral service. Brad, can't hear you, somebody says.
Oh.
That's because Brad has his microphone off.
That'd be why. My bad. Let's read the question one more time here, Mike. Let's go back and go. We had a... Oh, wait. It's this one. This is coming from Brenda. She says, odd question, but I'm curious. Do funeral homes in Manitoba associate with one another as far as working together?
So do I got to redo?
You got to redo that, yeah.
So
it's okay. You can.
So we don't work together with other funeral homes. I'm sure if we phoned and asked for a car, I'm sure funeral homes would work together. I got to tell you something. During my brother's death, this will just tell you everything. So tragic part of our lives when we lose a loved one, and especially when you're in the funeral service. Only one funeral home reached out to me.
Really?
Only one funeral home. That was Cropo Funeral Home. And a big
they're family run.
Thank you to them. They're not. I don't think they're family run anymore. But anyway, either way, they reached out to me, and
that was nice,
I actually kind of broke down crying on the phone because it was like, wow, somebody actually cares. So the manager of Cropo, who was a female at that point, phoned me up and said, hey, if you need anything, vehicles, whatever you need, we're here for you. And that was really, it touched my heart a lot, and it showed that people cared. And then there was a couple other funeral directors, Rock Fontaine, Curtis Monkman, that showed up to my brother's funeral. Just 2 out of all these funeral directors we have in the province of Manitoba. So it shows you that they don't like what I'm doing here, where we educate the public. So educate yourself today for peace of mind tomorrow. We let you know what's going on in funeral service that's wrong, how they're taking advantage of you, and they just don't like that. They don't like when you know and you got the ammunition to fight back. So do we associate with other funeral homes? The answer to that would really be no. We mind our own business. We do our own thing. We worry about our customers. We don't worry about what other funeral homes are doing, and that's what makes us successful, is doing what we do best and not worrying about what other people do. And that's what we're going to continue to do, is take care of people's loved ones who come to our funeral home and give them the best care possible. And Brad's been working at the funeral home lately, so he's got to get a good look of life, death, how to prepare for death, and what you see and what goes on, and how hard it really is to work in this industry.
It's heartbreaking every single day you go to work, to be honest with you. You're seeing people in their some of their weakest moments, and you feel for them. You can't help but feel sorry for them. You can't help but feel what they're feeling because you see the videos, you hear the music, you hear the words coming out of the clergy's mouth, and you start to think about your own future, your own life, where you're at, where things are at in your world. And as soon as you do that, well, that can take you into some places that you don't normally touch on. And having that keep coming back day after day, Mike, that's the part that I'm kind of still sketchy on, right?
And we work with kids, and we work with younger people that are dying and older people that are dying. And being a funeral director is not easy. There's not an easy day where you go in and go, wow, today was easy.
Yeah.
It's emotional. It's never the same. It's heartbreaking. You're dealing with high emotions, anger, all kinds of things that you deal with. Somebody's asking, did Wheeler from Wheeler Funeral Home get his license back? No, I don't think they will be giving him his license back, but that's just me speaking. We have a board that takes care of funeral directors, and the board has just changed. It's not the Board of Funeral Service anymore. It's the Consumer Something Board that now takes care of funeral directors.
Okay, so next Tyler says, we had a horrible experience at a Winnipeg funeral home this week. My brother flew in from Montreal and wanted to see our mom one last time. We stopped by the funeral home that we chose, asking if we can see your mother one more time prior to cremation. We were tremendously overwhelmed with the answer. They told us that our mother was not here in their care, and that the cremation had already taken place without our authorization. Is this even legal? I'm so confused. Is there not somebody that governs funeral services in Manitoba? Angry and pissed off, Tyler.
Wow, what a terrible experience. So this is what I call the middle person in funeral service. We talk about this all the time. Those people that have signs up that say they're a funeral home or they're a crematorium, and obviously this family ran into that. Tyler, I'm sorry you had to go through that. He flies all the way in from Montreal to see his mom one last time, and the funeral home doesn't have his mom there because they use what I call Mickey Mouse funeral service, meaning just a person with a sign, a phone, and they subcontract everything out. Of course they didn't have his mom because his mom was sent to a crematorium and cremated illegally, I might add. You cannot do the cremation of a person until the family comes in and signs a cremation authorization form. So if we don't have a cremation authorization form on our machine, it is illegal for us to do a cremation.
It doesn't go in the machine. You said you had to punch in a
Punch in
specific
the name,
code
punch in
and
everything.
everything else, right?
So when you're dealing with subcontractors,
Yeah.
they don't care. They got a million cremations to do. They just want to get them out, right? So if I could say one thing to you, give you one piece of advice, use a licensed funeral home that owns and operates a crematorium, that has vehicles, that has receptions, reception areas, chapels, people who've invested in you. Because when we invest in our funeral homes, we invest in your families. So your families can have a good experience.
There's a lot more workers than just a couple of people in this business. It's not just a couple of people sitting in the storefront doing this. It takes a team.
It takes a team. And we have a great team at Voyage that works so hard to take care of your families and your loved ones to make sure that you have a good experience because you just had a terrible one. And we try and make it a little better for you. So yeah, that cremation was done legally. You need to know that if you go to a funeral home and the price is too high, and you want to leave there and you feel you're being taken advantage of, if you haven't signed the cremation form, they can't do the cremation legally. They have to have the cremation form signed, and then they can go to the cremation. And there is a board that looks over funeral directors. The Consumer Something Board, you can look it up online, and you could put a complaint in, and they have an investigator who's an ex-police officer.
Right.
And he will 100% investigate every claim that comes in. So whoever this funeral home you went to will be in trouble for doing this cremation without your authorization and taking that final right away from you to say goodbye. And that drives me crazy because, I believe everyone should have a chance to say goodbye and tell their loved one they love them, or that final touch or that final hug. And nobody should ever die alone. And unfortunately, these people lost that chance. So I would phone that board that takes care of funeral directors and put a complaint in.
Let's talk a little bit about something that Dan Nichols just brought up. I think this is a great question, Dan. When I lost my son, and we're sorry that happened to you, Dan,
Yeah, me too.
I found it very important that the funeral directors all had some sort of a sense of humor. Is that taught, or is that something that's just done?
When you go through mortuary school, they definitely don't teach you how to have a sense of humor. You go through school, if you get good marks, you pass. The apprenticeship program at a funeral home is working with a funeral director, almost like going out with a licensed electrician and learning how to wire things properly. And that's what you do as a funeral director. So when you go out and you work with families, you have to have a sense of humor. You got to be able to laugh. You got to be able to cry. You got to be able to go through that emotional roller coaster ride. And if you go to a funeral home where the funeral director is, good evening, welcome, in this room for the arrangements, and they have no personality, that would make, the death even worse. To deal with somebody that's so morbid. I remember when I first got into funeral service, a funeral director I ran into said, "Oh, Mike, you can't use that voice. You need to use the funeral director voice." And I said, "Well, what's the funeral director voice?" "Good evening. Welcome to the funeral home." And I thought, I am never going to do that in a million years. Good evening. Welcome to the funeral home. The hearse is over here.
Come in. We'll take your head later.
Oh, man.
Well,
that's the first question I asked the funeral home. Talking to my prearranged for my cremation. So Fernie, Fernie's not in Winnipeg. I was going to say, if you're in Manitoba and you pre-plan somewhere else, you could switch your pre-plan to Voyage, and more than likely you'll get a whole whack of money back, get the same services, and we've done that, written checks back for $10,000, $5,000, $3,000. Crazy. Somebody's talking about Jenny. I think Al Bueller said Jenny's amazing to deal with.
Kids are all free too, guys. Kids are all free. That's something that's very, very important.
Yeah, we've never charged for a child that's passed away. It's something we do from our heart. Sometimes people say, Mike, you're running a funeral home wrong. You could be making way more money. And I don't run the funeral home through my pocketbook. I run it through my heart. And I make sure that we give when we need to give. And we are respectful. We're compassionate. We don't lie. We tell you the truth. And we guide you in the best direction we can. And when there is an issue, we do our best to resolve it for you because we know you're going through a difficult time.
I've seen it firsthand, and I've witnessed it over the last 3 or 4 weeks that I've been employed by you with these funerals. It's really
you do really good on funeral service, by the way.
It's really open my eyes.
So Brad does well because he's got a great personality. He can meet people at the door and welcome them properly, and he's not creepy looking.
Not yet. Still getting old though.
Lori says I've had an experience with one of those Lurch funeral directors.
Yeah, Lurch.
Creepy at best. And there's lots of them out there. There's lots of them in there when you walk in. Rosie Stubbs says everyone at Voyage is amazing. You walk in there and it's really morbid. And I remember before I got into funeral service, I went into a few funeral homes and talked to funeral directors, acting as if we had a death.
I had a boss like that at a radio station up in the Pas, Manitoba, actually, back in the early 90s. So
just morbid.
Yeah, he read everything that way. It was crazy. My father had a heart attack at home. The medical examiner's office removed him from the house and told us he would be brought to one of the local hospitals. I was disgusted to find out that my father was in a holding facility, not located in the hospital at all. To make things worse, this facility released our father to the wrong funeral home. Do things like this happen often? Sherry wants to know.
Well, Sherry, first of all, my condolences for your loss. Second of all, your dad should have never been released to the wrong funeral home. There's just some procedures in place. And unfortunately, through a Winnipeg hospital lately, that's been happening a lot. So what should be happening is when a medical examiner's office tells you that your loved one is going to a local hospital, sometimes the hospitals are full. So they have no choice but to send your loved one to a holding facility. And that holding facility works for the medical examiner's office. And they basically hold your loved one until the investigation is done. And once the investigation is done, they usually release to the funeral home of your choice. So it's not normal at all to have your dad sent to a different funeral home. First of all, they don't send. What happens is the funeral home goes to the holding facility or to the hospitals, and we take your loved one into our care from there. So sorry that happened to you, and that makes a terrible experience even worse when you have to go through more grief than you just went through. Wallace says, I identify as a 6-year-old. My wife, never mind. Jeez, Wallace.
I told you the chat is just, wow. Okay.
This chat's on fire always. Just love it.
We went through Voyage Funeral Home did you write this one? No, we went through Voyage Funeral Home this week to have our father cremated. The staff at the crematorium were incredible, allowing us to see our father one more time. They were compassionate and patient and very professional when handling our father. We had a chance to watch the cremation casket go into the machine. My older brother was asked if he wanted to push the button to start the cremation. My question is, how long does the cremation take? We left, obviously, before it's completed. Also, what is the temperature of the crematorium through the cremation process? I can tell you that it heats up in there. It gets very hot. Not just in the machine, but in the actual room itself. I know that it was hot that night we were there live.
Yeah. And you know what? It's even hotter when you do a few cremations, through the day.
Back to back,
Back to back with 2 machines running.
Yeah.
So basically, to answer your question.
Thanks, Cindy, for that question, by the way. It was Cindy.
Hey, Cindy. So I remember Cindy. I did arrangements with her. So what happens is we always ask the family to leave once the machine starts.
Right.
And that's for insurance purposes. Nobody can be in the building other than the people working the machine. So what happens when you leave is the machine hits about 1,600 degrees. And it runs for about an hour and a half. So the cremation takes about an hour and a half, sometimes an hour, depending on where we are at the day. So sometimes if the machine's really hot and we're going back-to-back cremations, the cremation could take place in an hour because the machine is really hot. So, yeah, the cremation took about an hour and a half, and then the temperatures reached between 16 and 1,900 degrees. And then people always ask this, I'll just add to this, even though they didn't ask. And then when we open up the machine, what do we see? We see the bone structure of the human body. So cremation is the bone structure of the human body. And then we take the bones out, take them to a processing station. And that's what they call cremated remains.
Yeah, because, well, everything else is just water and basically evaporates.
Correct.
Okay. Did I see it when I was driving around the funeral homes this past week? Did I see like a window on one side of the buildings that we could do drive-by funerals?
No drive-by funerals at Voyage.
No? Okay. I thought maybe I saw a window there. That
No,
we
yeah,
could
there
do
is
that.
a window there, but not for that.
Our mother passed away this week. We were told by the cemetery we must use a funeral home located on the cemetery property in order to have a burial take place at this particular cemetery. Why couldn't we use a funeral home of our choice? They want to know. The cremation cost was almost $7,000 compared to, well, Voyage's $1,600. This makes absolutely no sense to our family. Mark needs some answers.
So, Mark, you were lied to. Straight out. You could use any funeral home you want and go to any cemetery you want. So sometimes these salespeople working at these cemeteries misguide you. 100% misguide you, lie to you right to your face, maybe put things in a different way that make you feel, or it sounds like, but you don't have to use the cemetery located or the funeral home located on the cemetery property. That's just wrong. You were totally misguided. And $7,000 is a lot to pay for cremation. And if you would have known that you could use any funeral home, such as Voyage, I'm sure you would have came and paid the $1,600 minus the $7,000. And we have funeral homes located almost by every cemetery with a 10 or 15 minute drive to any cemetery. So if you're quoted high prices like this and you're told you have to use the funeral home located on the cemetery property, that's wrong. They're totally misguiding you. And I remember writing an article in the Winnipeg Free Press. I think we're going to run it in the Winnipeg Sun, where we're going to be doing Ask the Funeral Director now also in the Winnipeg Sun. Says Kevin Klein's taken over the paper.
Yeah,
it's
good
really
news.
changed.
Good news there, eh?
Go get yourself a Winnipeg Sun. There's real news in there. They tell you the truth. Marty Gold is also reporting in there, but the Sun is going to be bigger and better in the near future, and Voyage is going to be a part of it. So we already run Ask the Funeral Director in the Winnipeg Free Press in the obituary section. Now we'll be the only funeral home running Ask the Funeral Director in the Winnipeg Sun. So the paper's changed. I'm happy to see that, and the paper is going to be bigger and better, and you'll find out on the 14th when they're going to be launching the new Winnipeg Sun.
Yeah, it's going to be better and great. I think it's really going to allow people to get back to a real sense of real journalism.
You know what? There's always good to have competition, right?
Real
it's good to have, if you don't want to go, if you don't want to read the Free Press.
Do you really? I mean,
who reads the paper anymore?
You want to talk about this? When you put the two side by side now, you're really going to get what's really going on with the media. If you can't figure it out by watching the TV, you put those two newspapers side by side in about 2 weeks from now, and you're going to find out exactly what's really going on.
Christine says, looking forward to going to the Cork and Flame for the first time this week. Can't wait.
Yeah, you're going to love it, Christine.
You're going to love
no
it, Christine.
question.
If I'm there, make sure you say hi to me. I'm there this weekend, Friday and Saturday.
10% discount?
We'll take care of her. We're going to give her a nice apple crisp or something to make her feel good. And don't forget, before the end of the year, we want to have that big party. Maybe the party before winter.
I still haven't been on the boat
I know,
at Buffalo
I gotta bring you
Point.
on the boat.
What's going on, man? Time's wasting here. All right, this is the last week of hot. Like 31 tomorrow
How do you
or
know?
something.
Is there something called Indian Summer? Oh, wait, you can't say that anymore.
No, it's
what's it called
else.
now?
I don't know.
What's it called? It's not called Indian Summer anymore.
I'm not getting into that mess.
You just can't say anything anymore because it's politically not correct.
Well, we say a lot on this show, but I'm not getting involved in that. I understand another funeral home in Winnipeg located in West St. Paul was just seized by a bailiff last week, Mike. This individual had pre-planned funeral services with this funeral home. What happens to the money now? What will happen when the new owners get into place? Will there be a pre-plan, and will they honor my pre-plan? Amanda wants to know.
Another Winnipeg funeral home got seized by the bailiff's office again this week, the bank, and that funeral home is now for sale. So if you had pre-plans with that funeral home, you could come to Voyage, transfer that pre-plan to Voyage, and we'll take care of you and honor whatever they did for you, and you won't lose your money. As far as your money being safe with that funeral home, unless you put it in assurance money, you might have lost your money. If you paid cash, you need to see if you have a certificate. The certificate needs to be from TruStage or maybe trust money from one of the local banks. So call me and I will guide you on how to get your money back. And whoever's going to take over that funeral home will 100% not honor your pre-plan because they never collected the money for it. So call me at the funeral home and I'll guide you through that. There's been other funeral homes that have gone broke in Winnipeg. And people say, how does a funeral home go broke?
Good
With all
question.
these deaths going on, how does a funeral home go broke? Bad management, maybe having the wrong systems and procedures in place,
Crazy.
bad financial decisions. I don't know.
Overhead can get ahead of yourself, right? The costs, mortgages, payments
It's still
on
a
property.
business like any other. What people don't understand is funeral home is still a business.
Your mortgage your property mortgages are going up. The rate, interest rate.
I feel so
everything.
good after
Being
being
abandoned?
monkeypox tonight.
All right. Okay.
Don't you?
A couple more questions to go. Nicole says our mother has stage 4 cancer.
Ask you a question.
What was the question?
Don't you feel good after being vaccinated tonight?
Yeah. I
You
sure
feeling?
do.
You got any headaches?
No.
Sore arms?
No.
No problems with your
I
chest?
had to take my doctor medication before you showed up. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Our mother has stage 4 cancer that has just been placed in palliative care. We're sorry to hear that. Can you guide me on what happens when she passes away? Nicole wants to know.
So, Nicole, if your mom is in one of the palliative care facilities and you're expecting a death, usually a death is going to happen if somebody's in one of those facilities. So, what will happen is at the time of death, you should give the palliative care facility the funeral home name that you're going to use. So, if you're going to use Voyage, make sure you tell them that when my loved one passes away, I want you to call Voyage Funeral Home. So, usually they'll call the family upon the death taking place or prior, knowing that your loved one is going to pass away. Shallow breathing and all that kind of stuff. They would call you and say you should come and say your final goodbyes. What happens after that is the funeral home's called. We come to the facility and we take your loved one into our care, and then we wait for you to call us in the morning, or we'll call you and make arrangements to follow through with your final wishes. So that's what's happening after death at one of these facilities.
All right, one more question to go before we get close to wrapping things up. It's just past 10 o'clock tonight, past your bedtime almost.
Way past my bedtime.
My Dave wants to know, he says, my 42-year-old brother passed away in a tragic car accident. We're sorry to hear that, Dave. I'm having trouble dealing with his death. I need help dealing with my anger and hate towards the drunk driver that killed my brother. Sad, sad. Do you have any suggestions to guide him, Mike?
Well, Dave, first of all, my condolences for your loss. So I want you to know I don't know where this accident happened, but if it was in Manitoba, Manitoba Public Insurance, as part of the claim process, will help pay for your brother's funeral service. They'll pay for counseling for the family. So what you should do is partake in the counseling services that they offer to help you deal with all the emotions and it's a roller coaster ride when you lose somebody. And yes, there's anger and there's frustration and there's hate, and I'm going through that myself with the loss of my brother. And it's been 8 or 9 months now, and I'm still going through these anger spurts where I just want to kill this guy. And there's all kinds of emotions. It's a roller coaster ride, and it's not something that you can just deal with overnight. It's a long, long process. Grief takes a long time to deal with, and sometimes it takes forever. And some people say, come on, man, snap out of it. It's been 9 months. That's not the way it works. When you go through a process of losing a loved one to a motor vehicle accident or to a murder, it's time. They say time heals all things. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not, because there's people that go to their graves still grieving the loss of a loved one, especially when you're talking people 42, 50, 51 years of age, like my brother. And just like you, Dave, I'm going through those same emotions, and you get angry and you get frustrated, and you want to face this person face to face, and you want answers to questions, and sometimes getting a hug, sometimes talking to a counselor, letting out your feelings, letting out your emotions. Talk to people about what's going on in your heart. Don't hold it inside you, and that's what I've been doing. And I think me doing this show has helped me deal with my brother's death a little bit.
I was going to say, we do that every week on the show.
Yeah, but don't forget, when my brother died, a part of me also died with him. And that goes for both of my brothers, Nick and Pete. A part of them has died with Kyriakis, and it's never going to go away. It's going to be in our hearts forever. And there's still a long process to go, because now you got to face the person in courts that did this to your brother. And then the emotions are back again, and the anger, and who knows what's going to happen in the courtroom. And then you deal with this for the rest of your life. And my mom especially is having a really, really hard time. So, Dave, my condolences for your loss. Try and get some help. Try not to hold those feelings in. Let them out. Talk to people about what you're going through. And that should help you just a bit.
100%. Lots of people starting to say, we're out of here. It's time to go. It's time to go, Mike. And before we go, hey, here, catch.
Oh, geez. There's the monkey again. Kind of looks like me.
Well, I'm glad you said it.
So Brad and I got vaccinated today for monkeypox. We don't have to worry about this guy coming in and infecting us, as for now, anyways. But who knows what happens a week from now after being vaccinated? They may tell us that it's contaminated. We may get sick with something else, and then people are going to call it a conspiracy theory and all that kind of stuff. So Brad just died on a show. It's because of the vaccine.
Sudden death. Yeah.
Sudden death. Thanks for watching Ask the Funeral Director. We love you guys. If it wasn't for you, the show wouldn't be possible. Please like, share, and follow the show. God bless you and your families. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other. Brad, thank you again for another great episode of Ask the Funeral Director.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.